It is a historic and a historically bad day for the Republic. Donald Trump served his indictment in the state of New York today, and on tonight's show at 8:15, he will be making a live speech at Mar-A-Lago to address the nation after the chaos we have seen today. And in the spirit of the show, we will be covering that speech and giving you the live stream of that tonight and a little bit of pre and post coverage. That's all coming up tonight on the Vince Dow Show. And again, Trump's speech estimated to begin here in about 15 minutes. Don't go anywhere. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everyone to the Vince Dow Show. I am your host, Vince Dow. And before we begin here, ladies and gentlemen, everyone be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. We do this show live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday through Friday. So be sure to join us every Monday through Friday here on the channel. But tonight's episode is going to be a little bit different because our stream slot tonight interferes with the Trump speech. I don't want to siphon viewers or compete with viewers, so we will be giving you the live coverage of that speech in just a few moments here. In fact, let me check and make sure this is all set up and working correctly. Yeah, as you can see, we are awaiting, again, about 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time is the estimated moment as when he's going to come out. Probably, let's be realistic, probably around 8:20. But yeah, crazy and historic news today. You know, I don't want to keep repeating myself. So that's the very difficult thing with this whole indictment situation is, how much more can I say it? Political persecution, blah, blah, blah. But I will say, and this is a point that should not be lost on people, yes, this is indeed in many ways, and a lot of people are saying this, and I think it's largely true, in many ways it spells the death of the American Republic. What has happened today? It's not to say that the system, there's nothing in the system. I'm not saying it like that. I mean it more so in the sense that, basically since 1789, there has been the precedent of, You try not to use the legal system to target political opponents. And yes, Donald Trump is not the first time in U.S. history where that has happened. Richard Nixon, many others, right? This has happened in the past, but we understand this. Indicting a former president, this is a line that's never been crossed, and it's a line you really cannot come back from, because what's inevitably going to happen in the future is you're going to get this back and forth, and basically the political system is going to be a political system based on political vengeance and revenge against people's opponents, and not trying to, serve government or whatever. Conservatives need to adapt to that, by the way. I can stand there and I complain about it, and it's obviously very bad. We don't like to see it. It's not a good thing for the future of the country whatsoever. But, let me just say, that sight of him walking into the courthouse, all of that stuff, remember that when we have power. We cannot forget it, because, no amount of words can make the system they have now created go away, and so we simply ought to remember that. Burgundy Blue says, for $2, thank you very much, says, Vince, did you ever get the emails I sent you? Yes, I will respond when I have time, okay? People need to understand this, not just you, Burgundy Blue, okay? I'm a very incredibly busy person, and I know everyone says that, but I'm doing like 13 credits and trying to do this show every night, okay? My life kind of sucks, for by most standards. Now, I enjoy it because I enjoy the grind, but, like stuff like that, I will try to get back to you when I can. I can't review it the moment you send it over most of the time, okay? Just FYI on that front. But yeah, we are awaiting President Trump here tonight. Again, around 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, he's estimated to show up, and this is the case. This is the case. One other thing I wanted to bring up, actually, there was something I wanted to say about this that was actually new, but I forgot, because I've gone over the same things a million times. Political persecution, blah, 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 Currently, they're trying to move the case from Manhattan to Staten Island, because here's the thing, right? Obviously, Donald Trump, They're trying to indict him on 34 counts of business fraud. None of it is legitimate. We understand this. But the big issue right now is if this goes through in Manhattan, yeah, the jury in Manhattan, I mean, I'm pretty sure, man, the district there voted probably like 99% for Joe Biden and for Hillary Clinton. This is obviously an issue. Okay, this is obviously an issue. The judge, vocal Trump hater, and so, that's going to be a big thing in this case. And so we'll just have to see. We'll just have to take a look and see. But let me check out the chat real quick. And if you want to support tonight, support the show, support the stream, feel free to send it in via a super chat as we await the Donald Trump speech. Zachary says, sorry, I'm distracted. I'm currently trying to do my taxes. A pain. Yeah, real. I got to do my taxes soon. I keep forgetting. I've been quite busy. But let me say hi to some of our chat. What's up, Abby? What's up, Zeb? What's up, Brian E. Burgundy Blue? Good to see all of you guys on this historic and crazy and quite hectic day. But let me go and try to see if I can figure out what it was I was going to bring up. Well, I guess not. It's not going to come up. But this is the case. We await. So while we just fill air in the meantime, there's Mike Lindell coming on the screen. I got attacked on Twitter today by a bunch of LGBT ABC transformer people, and it all started because I posted the clip of last night's show where I was bringing up the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad, and I was like, hey, if you drink Bud Light, that now at this point that kind of makes you gay, doesn't it? But I also brought up, and we talked about this on last night's show, light beer like that, it's basically full of estrogen. You're drinking liquid estrogen. There's a reason why Bud Light and stuff like that gives people man boobs, and for some reason, I don't know, a bunch of lefties are mad at that. But you go and look at all of these, every single person who's getting mad, retweeting, subtweeting, whatever, they all have he, him, and most of them are transgender. So this is very interesting. I went out last night. Actually, in many ways, they vindicated me, because I went out last night and said what? I said there is a lot of phytoestrogen in Bud Light, and it's kind of fitting actually that Dylan Mulvaney is the ambassador because it's a drink full of phytoestrogen. And this is what I said. And then, in response, who gets mad at me for that? A bunch of LGBT ABC transformers. It's almost like I'm proving the point that the drink is for them and not for, heterosexual, normal, right-wing guys like us. This is true. So I am vindicated on that front. I'm quite vindicated. Burgundy Blue for $5. Thank you very much. Says, I hope your day was good also. What are your thoughts on Huey Long, his policies, and the patronage system? Explain him to the audience if they don't know. Thank you for the $5, Burgundy Blue. Basically, Huey Long is the guy who became a dictator of Louisiana for, I don't know, a few months, few years, however long it was, because basically the state government was very corrupt, and he essentially couped himself into power, but he used the coup to actually do a lot of things to fix the state in many ways. I don't know. See, I don't actually know a ton about the specifics of Huey Long, because on one hand, a lot of people say he was a socialist, and then other people say, no, he was actually like this based nationalist guy. Frankly, to me, it doesn't really matter. It's not actually of relevance. The way I view Huey Long is that, should we necessarily be cooing out state governments? Disavow. But I think he is a model of the way conservative executives should start more often to use power, which is to say, especially in the state of the country we're in now, as you can, obviously see, we're kind of past the point of, things like basic norms and standards and political moderation, I suppose, existing anymore, as you see with this. I think that a lot of conservative executives, like your average governors, maybe could learn a little bit from the lessons of power based in terms of Huey Long. Now, I don't know the specifics really of like how true it is. Was he like a socialist or actually like based? I don't know. I don't think it's that relevant. Because what Huey Long represents is a powerful Southern executive basically standing up to a very corrupt do-nothing government and standing up to corrupt power. And so it's like, whatever way you want to look at him, that's essentially all we ought to remember him for, you know what I mean? And so in that sense, I know he's a hero in Louisiana and stuff, and I think that's fine. Burgundy Blue for $2 says, I would recommend looking up to him. His wiki is nuts. I can sure imagine. I can sure imagine quite that it is nuts. But let me turn on the audio for the right side stream here and see where we're at as we await the Orange Man, Mr. Trump.
Pung Park, which is right across the street from the courthouse.
So they're standing around here. All right, we await Mr. T. We await Mr. Trump. I'm wearing the tie. Every time it's a Trump-related stream, you gotta bust out the red tie. Okay, this is the rule. This is the rule. Manhattan voted 86.74% for Biden. Well, exactly. You can't get a fair trial in Manhattan, and so, you know, I don't really care what side of the political aisle you're on. Now, if you're most liberals in America, which they don't care about justice, they don't care about fairness, it's all about this very Machiavellian sense of getting power, then okay, fine, I understand why they want it to be in Manhattan. But I don't understand how anyone who can, claim to still be one of the people in America that still wants, like fairness and equality and justice in the American political system, and is not just in this because they want to throw Donald Trump in jail no matter what happens. I don't see how anyone can look at the fact that this trial is in Manhattan and think, oh, well, that's going to be justice. That's going to be a decent trial. But real and true. Oh, I think one of the things I forgot I wanted to say was the fact that, Alvin Bragg, what a guy. First of all, let me say this about him. I think part of the reason we may end up being fine in this trial is that Alvin Bragg most likely is going to eat all of the evidence, okay? I think that's what he did the first time. Remember, there was like a pause because they're talking about Alvin Bragg was hiding evidence or whatever it is. The prosecutors were hiding evidence. It wasn't being hidden. He accidentally ate it because, he is a... YouTube, don't get mad. It is medically true. He is a morbidly obese individual, and so this is a concern. We will have to just sit there and await. Dang it, where's the world's most handsome Cheeto Puff? Real. We are waiting. We are waiting on the Cheeto Puff. So here we are. We continue. While we wait, be sure to leave a like on the stream. We got 124 viewers and 62 likes. What's going on there, chat? What's going on there? Come on. Let's get those numbers up. And hopefully I will be able to leave this stream up on YouTube. I actually tried to do some of the research into this because I never know how legal it is to actually copyright or stream. But from everything I've gathered, let me say this. Everything I've gathered is that something like a political speech, especially political speech by a former president, is fair use content. It's in the public domain. So... hopefully we'll be fine. Okay, hopefully we'll be fine. I'm deeming this reaction content, but hopefully we have some plausible deniability on that front. But yes, for all the new people who are pouring in and usually don't pour in these shows, come on, folks. We do this live every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So be sure to join us tomorrow night for our normal shows and all of that. But yes, as of now, we are awaiting President Trump. Let me turn on the audio some more. Let us see.
Few minutes away as we are waiting for President Trump. I do want to remind everybody to please go to our website, RSP.
I want to remind everyone to like the stream. So true. So true. But let's see. Some other news stories to cover while we wait as I fill some dead air. Colin Kaepernick is doubling down on his attacks on his white parents. You might remember I talked about this a few weeks ago. He came out and said that he had a problematic upbringing because his adopted white parents, who, I don't know, adopted him out of whatever ditch he crawled out of, who rescued him from that. Apparently, he's throwing them under the bus now for the sake of a book, saying that he had a problematic upbringing. Now, the reason, let me reiterate, the reason why they said he had a problematic upbringing was because he wanted to get a stupid, ridiculous haircut. Okay, he wanted to get one of those stupid haircuts, and his white adopted parents said, "Don't get that because it's not professional." Okay. So this is the problematic upbringing, according to Colin Kaepernick. Now, I think there's a few things worth saying here. Number one, it's not problematic. It's actually incredibly normal. every parent at some point in their life gets into an altercation with their kid about something, whether it's a haircut or a fashion choice or whatever it is. It's a fairly normal thing that happens in parenting. And oops, my bad. It's a fairly normal thing that happens in parenting. And, you know, regardless of how you feel about it, is that really enough, a disagreement over a haircut, enough to say that's a problematic upbringing? Because when I hear the words problematic upbringing, I think abuse, right? That's the first thing that comes to my head. Hey, were your parents abusive? Did they hurt you? Were they, you know, very mean? Every indication I've heard, his parents were incredibly supportive and good to him throughout his life, but they told him, hey, don't get a stupid haircut. And for saying don't get a stupid haircut, because they were actually looking out for him, they wanted him to be employable by the workforce, right? Which again, you know, say what you will, I don't care how you feel about it. The truth of the matter is, most people think these crazy, stupid haircuts, you know, are whatever words you want to use, right? Ghetto, you know, a politically incorrect term, I get it. But in the corporate world, this is what people think, at least implicitly deep down, right? They don't like the sight of those things. They don't find them to be very professional. And so I would go as far as to say that Colin Kaepernick's parents were right and good for saying, hey, I don't know if he's going to be an NFL player and then a future social activist. I want him to be employable, right? I want him to be respected by teachers, employers, whatever. And so they told him that. But then, like I said, all of that aside, even if that traumatized you, you know, we've all had disagreements with our parents in our life. Something that minuscule is enough to go write a whole autobiography about how you had a problematic upbringing. Give me a break. What an ingrate. Yeah, exactly. What an absolute scumbag. But let's check out the chat here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you want to support the show and support what we do, feel free to send in a super chat. I'm sure after the speech, we will do a Q&A portion, reaction portion. So feel free to stick around for that. And we're at 93 likes. Come on, 100 likes. Get 100 likes on the stream. What are we doing? Gnarl Antler says, Till Valhalla, white adjacent brother. Thank you for the $2. I don't know if I qualify for Valhalla, but I appreciate it, Gnarl Antlers. Thank you for the 2. My parents won't let me have nappy hair. Yeah, exactly. Hey, there's Emma. I know that person. Shout out Emma Mitchum. Tell her I said hi. We see you on the screen. Very cool. Very cool. Christopher for $5, thank you very much, says, don't mean to make a Rome comparison again, but we are living in a time similar to the late Roman Republic. Political violence and persecutions. Thank you for the $5, Christopher. And it's absolutely true. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I don't even have much to say. It's just simply true. Now, the thing is, though, if you make that comparison, everything then does suggest that the Caesar would be someone like, I don't think Donald Trump is the American Caesar, but he could be seen as an American Sulla, like, right? The precursor to all of that. Because, you know, much like the Roman Senate, I think the bad guys, the people we don't like, are currently the ones in power running the Senate and stuff like that. And so, I mean, it does suggest an interesting scenario on who Caesar will be. But, you know, the thing is about that is that I don't know, because most conservatives in America have deep reverence for, you know, the Constitution and you know, the traditional American system of government and all that, which I don't think is without virtue. It is good that conservatives value kind of tenets that built their country or whatever. But it's like, it's very interesting, because if we did have a Caesar, most likely Caesar would be a right-wing guy who crosses the Potomac and tries to fix the government and fix the country. But I feel like a lot of actually right-wing people who he would be trying to help wouldn't be down with that, right? A lot of them would say, well, Constitution, blah, 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 you know, First Amendment, like, so it is a very interesting and I think that's something that's not, that was lacking in Rome, right? Like the people who did like Caesar and support Caesar, there's no like Roman Constitution, Magna Carta style of value system. Yeah, they had the republic, but it was nothing so like deeply ingrained like that, like there is in America. So I don't know what the reaction would be, because like I said, think about it. A Caesar in America, a Caesar would have to be a reaction or a response to the current order of things. And so Caesar would be like a right-wing populist type of figure. But, you know, I don't know if the reception... Well, then again, you could point out that Caesar was killed, obviously, but I don't know what the reception would be from the actual American right. It's an interesting thing. I don't know. It's not something that I think we have to ponder for at least a few decades, but it is an interesting thought experiment of how that whole thing would go. Burgundy Blue for $5. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you for these super chats. Says, do you think the idea of what a legacy American is over time has changed? Would you consider anyone whose family was here before 1965 a legacy American? What a Fed Post answer, question, Burgundy Blue. You want to get me? You're trying to get me in trouble. You're trying to get me deplatformed here. I mean, I guess, yeah. I don't know if the idea of a legacy American is even a mainstream idea in American culture these days. But yeah, I mean, it definitely has changed over time, because if someone has been here since, say, their family's been here since like 1880, and then like generations of being in the same culture. I mean, obviously not saying that their bloodline is the same, but in many ways they're like, they basically get along and are indistinguishable from a person who, you know, was here during the revolution. And so, I mean, I guess, yeah, the idea of it does, you know, change over time. Thank you for the $5. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. But let's check this out here. John Doyle is the American Caesar. John Doyle has to upload before he can become the American Caesar. Okay, do you know how much work? Do you know how much work it would take to run a world government? This guy needs to upload. All right, I want to see if he's the American Caesar. We need to tell him. Go tell him. We need to see the American Caesar work ethic. Okay, you know it's you can't, you know, cross the Potomac and that's it. No, then he has to you know what Julius Caesar was doing? Julius Caesar was like conquering foreign lands at his age. All right, we need content. We need content in that case. All right, but this is real. Thoughts on Vivek Ramaswamy running? Rumble is down. It's working for me. Oh, here's Donald Trump. Thoughts on Vivek? I don't know much about Vivek, but he seems okay from what I've seen, but I haven't heard, I haven't like looked much into him. All right, let's turn on. Let me hold on. I could probably have to balance the audio a little bit. Hold on. Let me put like the compressor thing so it's not ridiculously loud. Plus, it's probably copyrighted anyway. All right, here he comes. Here comes Mr. Orange Man. The shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York. This is definitely going to get me copyrighted, but I'll try to turn it down low. Try to turn it down low. Dude, Vivek is based. I would like to interview Vivek. You know, I've been putting that off. All right, listen, sometime soon, we're going to try to get Mr. Vivek, I don't even know how to say his last name, on the show. I mean, a lot of the ideas I've heard from him are decent, but I've also heard that he is an advocate for, like, increasing legal immigration, which I've heard. I don't know if that's true. I've just heard people say that. That might be propaganda. I don't know, but that's a concern. I don't know if it's true. I'm not. I'm just saying I've heard that. But here he is, Mr. Trump. You saw his motorcade? That's epic, Matt Anderson. I need to move down to West Palm Beach for the summer, so I can get the Mar-A-Lago invites. Okay, I pull up, bro. I'm talking about Elder Scrolls. Oh, all right. How would I know? I've never played the Elder Scrolls. Not played that many video games. Okay. All right, here he is.
Thank you very much, everybody. And we have to save our country. God bless you all. God bless you all. And I never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. From the beginning, the Democrats spied on my campaign. Remember that? They attacked me with an onslaught of fraudulent investigations. Russia, Russia, Russia. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Impeachment hoax number 1. Impeachment hoax number 2. The illegal and unconstitutional raid on Mar-A-Lago, right here. They're lying to the FISA courts, the FBI and DOJ relentlessly pursuing Republicans, the unconstitutional changes to election laws by not getting approvals from state legislators.
I can try to switch it to the regular Trump. Hold on.
The millions of votes illegally stuffed into ballot boxes and all caught on government cameras. And just recently, the FBI and DOJ, in collusion with Twitter and Facebook, in order not to say anything bad about the Hunter Biden laptop from hell, which exposes the Biden family as criminals and which, according to the pollsters, would have made a 17-point difference in the election result. And we needed a lot less than that, like about 16.9. It would have been in our favor, not my favor, our favor, because our country is going to hell. And we remember the 51 intelligence agents who said Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. It didn't exist. It was Russian disinformation. Remember that? And that was all confirmed strongly by the FBI.
Okay, here, I'm going to switch it, guys. I'm going to switch it to the real Trump stream so there's less ads on the thing. All right, there you go.
Beginning with the radical left, George Soros-backed prosecutor Alvin Bragg of New York, who campaigned on the fact that he would get President Trump. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. This is a guy campaigning. He wanted to get President Trump at any cost, and this before he knew anything about me, didn't know a thing about me. He was campaigning. As it turns out, virtually everybody that has looked at this case, including rhinos and even hardcore Democrats,
John
say there is no
even.
crime
Real.
and that it should never have been brought. Never have been brought. Everybody. Even people that aren't big fans have said it. They said this is not the right thing to do. It's an insult to our country, as the world is already laughing at us for so many other reasons, like our open borders, our incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan, where we left behind American citizens, $85 billion worth of the best military equipment in the world, lost 13 magnificent young lives, and far too many to mention that are so badly hurt with the loss of arms and legs and facial obliteration. The most embarrassing time in our country's history, in my opinion. Then our give up on energy independence and even energy dominance. We're going to be dominant within 6 months, more than any other nation ×2. We had this all just 3 years ago. Our raging crime statistics, if you look in Democrat-run cities, numbers the likes of which we have never seen before. The open threats by various countries of the use of nuclear weapons, something never mentioned or discussed by outside nations during the Trump administration, and which could very well lead under the Biden administration's leadership to an all-out nuclear World War III can happen. We're not very far away from it, believe it or not. An economy that has been crippled by the biggest inflation we have seen in more than 60 years, and a military that I used to defeat ISIS in 4 weeks. They said it would take 4 years. 4 weeks, to kill al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, that has now gone woke at the top levels by trying to indoctrinate everyone down to the lowest ranking patriot. But now they have really stepped up their efforts by indicting the 45th president of the United States, who received...
Boo! Give me booze in chat. Let's go.
75 million votes, which is more than any sitting president in the history of our country. And in the wings, they've got a local racist Democrat district attorney in Atlanta who is doing everything in her power to indict me over an absolutely perfect phone call, even more perfect than the one I made with the president of Ukraine. Remember, I kept saying, that's a perfect call. This one was more perfect. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't say that. Many people on the phone were hung up in disgust because of something I inappropriately said. Because nothing was said wrong. In fact, at the end of the call, we agreed to continue our conversation about election fraud, and election fraud specifically in Georgia, at a later time. Many people on the phone, including lots of lawyers, nobody found anything wrong with that perfect call until a book promotion tour many months later. All of a sudden they say, you know, I remember Trump making a call.
Many are saying this.
That. This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election, and it should be dropped immediately. Then you have a radical left lunatic known as a bomb thrower who is harassing hundreds of my people day after day over the boxes hoax. You know, the boxes hoax, as we call it. Just so everyone knows, I come under what's known as the Presidential Records Act, which was designed and approved by Congress long ago just for this reason. Under the Act, I'm supposed to negotiate with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, which as of this date is a radical left troublemaking organization that red flags the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights as dangerous and triggering. Can you imagine?
I agree, Benny. This is better energy than we've seen.
But there is no criminality under the Presidential Records Act. That is not what it's all about. We were negotiating in very good faith, proper way, in order to return some or all of the documents that I openly and in very plain sight brought with me to Mar-A-Lago from our beautiful White House, just as virtually every other president has done in the past. When FBI and DOJ officials with NARA were here, I told my lawyer to show them the very secure storage room.
Very secure.
They were locked.
The most secure.
The FBI's sole request in writing was, could you please put another lock on the door? We immediately complied. It's a lot different than the Biden situation, isn't it? The next thing I know, we were raided by many gun-toting FBI agents who took whatever they wanted, including my passports and medical records. Everybody was in shock. Nobody had ever heard of such a raid before. We can't even believe it.
Nobody had heard of it.
Who would think that that could happen today? I immediately thought of the Fourth Amendment that protects against unreasonable search and seizure. But they did it anyway because our justice system has become lawless. They're using it now, in addition to everything else, to win elections. Apparently, they're not looking at me through the view of the non-criminal Presidential Records Act. They came up with a new one. This is a new one. And they're looking at me through the Espionage Act. Think of that. How does that sound? Of 1917, where the penalty is death. Even though that has absolutely nothing to do with openly taking boxes of documents and mostly clothing and other things to my home, which President Obama has done, the Bushes have done, Jimmy Carter's done, Ronald Reagan has done. Everybody's done. In fact, Hillary Clinton got rid of 33,000 emails, and that was okay.
Few remember
but nobody's
this.
done it like Joe Biden. This lunatic special prosecutor named Jack Smith, I wonder what it was prior to a change, who others of his ilk say he's even worse than they are, is only looking at Trump, yet Joe Biden took massive amounts more documents, even removed many boxes to Chinatown.
Chinatown! Chinatown!
Just got $10 million from China. Where did that come from? I guess they were banking on Hunter's expertise.
Oh, Hunter!
And had others stored in unsecured offices in Pennsylvania and strewn all over his
many such cases.
Garage floor, where his now
That's
very
Hunter Biden
famous
for you.
Corvette is also stored. All over the floor, including classified documents. But that's okay. Perhaps most importantly, he has 1,850 boxes in Delaware, which he is refusing to give up. But isn't that real obstruction? That's
yes.
obstruction. As president, I have the right to declassify documents, and the process is automatic. If I take them with me, it's automatic. Declassify. Biden was vice president. He had absolutely no right to declassify as vice president. He doesn't come under the non-criminal Presidential Records Act. He comes under the very criminal Federal Records Act, unfortunately for him, but it's not going to matter because they don't follow the law, which has very severe penalties. He had classified documents that he took while he was a senator, which is absolutely inexcusable, and other senators, including Democrats, are outraged. But he's not being harassed and hounded like the people.
Yeah, people forget what happened to the Biden documents.
In fact, they seem to have forgotten
Totally
about
forgotten. Totally
his
forgotten.
documents
So true,
entirely.
Mr. President, who
So
is
many
wearing the same
thousands
outfit
and
as me.
thousands. It's okay with him.
This is kind of weird.
They like to say that I'm
Change ties.
obstructing, which I'm not, because I was working with NARA very nicely until the raid on my home. But Biden is obstructing by making it impossible to get the 1,850 boxes or explain why many documents were located in Chinatown. Can't explain it. Why were they in Chinatown? I don't know. Lastly, I'm under investigation. This time a civil investigation by another racist in reverse, who also campaigned on, "I will get Trump. I will get him." This was her campaign. Never ran for office. I will get him. Her name is Letitia James.
Yeah, she's a forgotten
And
aspect
she
in this,
proclaimed
too.
while campaigning, quote, "I look forward to going into the office of the Attorney General every single day, suing him, and then going home." Just before she knew me. She announced, "What is fueling my soul right now is Trump." And that she had her eyes on Trump Tower. Those eyes are focused on Trump Tower. Didn't know the young lady. She even assured her supporters in an election promise that
I'm
we're going to definitely
Asian
sue
Trump.
him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
Lee Wan Trump. That's me. Lee Wan Trump.
And then she claimed that I was an illegitimate president. Think of that. With all we did on energy, with all we did on the military, on taxes, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history, right to try, people able to get drugs now that aren't approved. Hopefully you don't have that problem. Letitia James vowed to use every area of the law to, quote, investigate President Trump and his business transactions. Those transactions are going to be investigated, she said. And that
Which
of
are
her
totally
family.
valid. He's just
his
epic
family.
rich player.
Because we're going after his family.
Perfect transactions.
And we're going after them hard. This is all before entering office and all before knowing anything at all about me. But she was going to get me. This is why, along with unrelenting crime, So many people and companies are leaving New York.
Real.
She said that I falsified my financial statements, but in fact, we're proving and will prove that my financial statements were substantially more than we submitted, not less. And in all cases have a strong disclaimer clause in them which tells the institutions that may look at that if they want to, not to rely on the statement. But they've got a problem with their case because, number one, I'm very underleveraged. They can't believe it, all the stuff they read and gave, and have very little debt relative to the value of assets. And importantly, not one bank has lost even $1. She was investigating me to save banks. They have very good lawyers. But they didn't lose $1 with us during this period of time. In fact, the banks we're talking about made almost $200 million off Donald Trump, and they liked me very much. We never missed a payment, never got a default notice, had a great relationship with all of them.
What color is your bank?
I don't need banks. We have a lot of cash. I built a great business with my family, built a fantastic business.
Real.
I have a son here who's done a great job, and I have another son here who's done a great job.
The empire of sons. What a king.
And Ivanka and Barron will be great someday. He's tall. He's tall and he's smart. But I have a great family, and they've done a
Barron
fantastic
Trump is
job.
the American
and we appreciate
Caesar.
it very
That's who
much.
he is.
They've gone through hell. So she's suing me over banks that weren't defrauded, when she should be focused on violent crime that's driving people out of the state. This is a persecution, not an investigation. She's put our family through hell. It's cost hundreds of millions of dollars to defend, but our heads are held very, very high. They want to settle the case, but I want no part of that. So here we are now. It's where we were today, in a city that was so great just 4 or 5 years ago. But now we're there. Spent time there today, as you possibly read, with a local failed district attorney charging a former president of the United States for the first time in history on a basis that every single pundit and legal analyst said, there is no case. There's no case. They kept saying, there's no case.
None.
Virtually everyone. But it's far worse than that, because he knew there was no case. That's why last week he delayed for a month and then immediately took that back and threw this ridiculous indictment together. Came out today, everybody said, this is not really an indictment. There's nothing here. My lawyers came to me and they said, there's nothing here. They're not even saying what you did. The criminal is the district attorney because he illegally leaked massive amounts of grand jury information.
Real. Lock up Alvin Bragg in his
for which he should be
400-pound self.
Or at a minimum, he should resign. And Alvin Bragg's wife confirmed a report that claimed her husband has Trump nailed on felonies. She has since locked down her
Alvin
Twitter
Bragg,
account.
more like Alvin.
His chief prosecutor, who represented the Democrats and crooked Hillary Clinton in a firm run by Chuck Schumer's brother, Robert. He quit the firm in order to go to work in the DA office in order to get Trump. Can you imagine that? Hillary Clinton's lawyer, Democrat firm. Ultimately, he quit as chief prosecutor because Bragg didn't think he had a case. Think of that same guy that brought this ridiculous thing today. Yet during his investigation, this prosecutor named Mark Pomerantz wrote and published a book saying all sorts of privileged things and has been very strongly reprimanded. He was reprimanded so strongly. I've never seen anything like it. That's probably the end of it. But what he did was probably very illegal, but he was very, very strongly reprimanded. Even District Attorney Bragg was furious with him. They were having a tremendous fight in the office because of it. But hope is never lost, because various prosecutors in the DA's office also quit because they thought President Trump was being treated very unfairly. How about that? Isn't that great? Oh, I love them. I'd like to meet them.
Based,
I'd like to meet
come
them.
out. We need to meet them.
The DA's office even had a web page. Meet the team of executives who have done this to President Trump. That was the title. Isn't that nice? They immediately had to take it down. Meanwhile, overall crime in New York was up 30% last year. Much more than that the year before, with felony assaults, robberies, and burglaries all up by massive, massive numbers. Not the same place that I know, not the same place that you know. And this is where we are right now. I have a Trump-hating judge with a Trump-hating wife and family whose daughter worked for
but
Kamala
a Trump-loving
Harris,
country. Let's
and
go.
now receives money from the Biden-Harris campaign, and a lot of it. We recently had another trial, and the same judge told the fine man who worked for me for many, many years that if you admit your guilt, you will be in jail for 90 days. But if you don't, if we go through a trial and you're found guilty, you're going away for 10 years and maybe longer, which for a 75-year-old man with a great family really means life. What the prosecutors and judge did to that man, I will never forget, because it's right out of the old Soviet Union. That's where we are. They said, you say anything about Trump, meaning that's bad, and you won't even have to serve the 90 days. You'll walk free. And they say that to many of my employees. We have this Jack Smith lunatic threatening people every single day through his representatives. They're threatening jail terms. But talk about Trump and you'll go free. This is where we are as a nation. Who would have thought? They can't beat us at the ballot box, so they try and beat us through the law. That's the country in which we live, however, right now. The USA is a mess.
Many such cases.
Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. Russia has joined with China. Can you believe that? Saudi Arabia has joined with Iran. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition. Would have never happened if I were your president. Would never have happened.
True.
Nor would Russia attacking Ukraine have happened. All of those lives would be saved. All of those beautiful cities would be standing. Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. There will be no defeat like that. That will take us away from being even a great power. If you took the 5 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done.
No printer. Common Brandon L. Literally the worst.
Incredibly, we are now a failing nation.
True.
We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. We can't let that happen. With all of this being said, and with a very dark cloud over our beloved country, I have no doubt, nevertheless, that we will make America great again.
Let's go!
Thank you very much. And God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Well, Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is Donald Trump's address to the nation. A little bit shorter of a speech. He usually gives about, like, hour-long plus speeches, but I don't know if it's a thing we're going to see in the 2024 campaign trail, the shorter speech. But I thought the speech was good energy, very good energy. Obviously, Trump is a little bit older than he was as compared to the classic speeches of 2016 or whatever. But, this was one of the better ones. I thought it hit all the right points. I thought that it didn't drag on, too long, whatever. It was good timed and all that. Probably would have liked to see a little bit more rhetoric about the kind of system itself and sort of that populist anti-establishment rhetoric really at the forefront of it. That might have been a good addition to it, really showing, hey, they're after me because they're after you and I'm fighting for you and all that type of stuff. He more so took the angle of, well, here's everything wrong that's happening in the country right now, which is also a true point. All the bad stuff you see happening in the country, including the state of New York, but the emphasis is obviously trying to prosecute Donald Trump. So I think they're both good angles, but that's maybe a critique I would make of the speech. But again, high energy. I think good energy, good time. I think very good time because, like I said, Trump is a little bit older now. Those like hour-long plus speeches don't hit the same as they did in 2016. I think a lot of people would agree. But this, well-timed, hit all the right points, concise. Nobody got bored. I don't think anyone got bored during that. It was a good speech, solid speech, and solid response, I think, in my opinion. But let's find out what the chat thinks about the speech. And I know we're probably going to have viewers drop off after this, but we're about to do Q&A, super chats, talk about the speech a little bit. But to anyone, before you go, be sure to join us every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We do a live nightly show every weeknight. So for the people who just came in because they saw this, they don't watch the normal shows, just a message on that front. But all right, let me put out the poll. Let me see thoughts on the Trump speech. Thoughts on the Trump speech. We'll put highly approve. Okay, I can't spell apparently. Highly approve, disapprove, and strongly disapprove. All right, let's get some audience feedback here, and I know I have a few super chats to catch up on. Let me catch up on those really quickly, the ones we got during that, and like I said, super chat portion of the show now. We'll talk Q&A. Give me your thoughts, and any questions you guys have, feel free to send them in via a super chat. And we are at 218 likes. Let's get to 250 likes. And let's see, Burgundy Blue for $2. Thank you very much. Says guy gets arrested. Why is he low energy / sad? Well, I don't think he was necessarily low energy in that. He's just, like I said, he's a little bit older now. As comparison to a lot of, I think, his recent speeches, I thought that it was actually better energy, higher energy. And like I said, didn't drag on too long. I didn't think it was that bad. Like I said, it's not 2016 anymore. He doesn't give those same speeches, but I thought it was a solid speech. Dollar for $2 says there's no case like there's no WMD in Iraq. So true. Thank you for the $2. Dollar for dollar. Good to see you. Let's see. I thought I got one earlier, but is it stuck? Is it not letting me go all the way up? That's not good. Zeb Boykin for $5. Thank you very much. Says he's getting old. I wouldn't be surprised if he drops out and endorses Vivek. I said this in a tweet and Vivek liked it. Also follow me on Twitter. Yeah, be sure to follow Zeb Boykin on Twitter. Trump is not going to drop out. Okay, let's be totally honest here. However low energy anyone thinks he is, he's not going to do it. Okay, he I think. Because, I mean, imagine this from his shoes, too. It's like, this is your life purpose at this point, right? You ran for president, you got screwed, whatever happened, you know what I mean? I think it's really going to be a big thing in his life, regardless of what happens, and I honor this, and I think I would do the same thing. Whatever happens, he's going to ride this to the end, right? He's not going to drop out in the middle and endorse some random Indian entrepreneur. I doubt that's going to happen. I don't think Trump would be able to live with himself with that happening, if I were to be totally honest with you. I certainly wouldn't do it either. You know, some people are like, why is he running? I mean, okay, if people out there, you know, they support another candidate, fine. But can anyone really blame him for running after all that has happened and this and that? You know, I don't know if I were in that position as a man, I couldn't not also try to ride it to the end. And I think Trump, frankly, does have a very good chance. I mean, he's up against, assuming he wins a nomination, which this is going to help him a lot. It's literally going to be him versus an 82-year-old Biden. It's like, yeah, even if Trump is not 2016 Trump, he still, I think, appears higher energy than Biden. And then regardless, and here's what I will say about Trump. What's going to be very important in this campaign, considering, as some people are pointing out, his energy is not at the level it used to be. Again, he's older. A big thing is going to be media and the use of media, right? And this is one way, not the only way, but one of the ways that Joe Biden was essentially able to run his 2020 campaign from basically the basement, right? He remember that whole thing, basement show, right? Because he had a big army on the internet and on media, all this basically, going out there. That's going to be a bigger part of the Donald Trump operation now, right? Because, and I think you saw that from the shorter speech, he's not the guy who can carry these 2-hour-long speeches necessarily as effectively anymore. But if the Trump team can figure out blitzing the media, blitzing social media, in the ways that I think we've seen a lot of red pill figures and stuff be managed to do, then I think he'll be fine. But that is going to be a more important part of the Trump campaign this time around is, the rallies are still great. The base still enjoys them. But, they're not all over the place like they were back in 2016. And so I think that, focusing the operation on stuff like media and getting, the message out through TV and stuff like that way, I think that's going to be very important. But let's check out Super Chats here. Again, we're doing Q&A. We'll check it out. So I will read some Super Chats here. Burgundy Blue for $10. Thank you very much. Says, where would you put yourself and the MAGA movement on the political spectrum of the left/right? I think you lie somewhere in between normie conservatives and the dissident right. I mean, that depends what you mean by some of that stuff. Like, I will say, yes, I over the years have become... I had like my populist phase or whatever, where I was like, I become personally more and more economically right-wing again. It's like, kind of the horseshoe theory type of thing where I start off, blah, 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 free market, deregulation, all that. And then I have like my middle IQ phase kind of on the arc of the thing where I'm like, well, I think I'm more of a populist, screw all these... and I'm still like, I still don't like the woke corporations and all that, but like, screw all these global corporations and this and that. Like we shouldn't worship capitalism, which I still don't think we should worship capitalism. But then as I turned about, let's say, 18 years old, and then, I started making money for myself and I started understanding business for myself, I was like, a lot of these ideas, you really think about it, that, people basically throw out the conservative case for like socialism light, but it's actually conservative to do it. A lot of it's a very big LARP, and all it would basically do is cause a bunch of inflation, and causing inflation and inefficiency and all these problems. That's not going to save the American family, and that's not going to rebuild the American family. It's not going to build the country if you can't afford anything. And also, just seeing the state of this economy, seeing what mass spending and reckless monetary policy has done, it definitely did push me back to the economic right and kind of snap me out of my little childish high school populist phase where I thought I was above everything for all of that. So, I'd probably put myself... MAGA movement, I don't know, it depends what you define the MAGA movement. I'd probably put myself like the middle of the right-wing line, and then the authoritarian quadrant, the upper right quadrant. I'd probably put myself like dead center of it. That's probably where I am politically. And frankly, I think of a lot of what people call the dissident right. I used to have more sympathies for when I was younger, and then like I said, turned 18, and I realized a lot of the ideas were LARPy, and a lot of the stuff was just like teenage entertainment where people want to feel different and contrarian and all that stuff. And then, the moment I started to realize how the real world worked, I was like, this is just a bunch of teenagers on the internet, and really fell out of favor with them. And so that's kind of been the arc with the so-called dissident right. Mr. EZ says the dissonant right, or whatever it is inherently left-wing. The media uses them to make us look bad, but we also cope to convince ourselves that we aren't radical. At Vince Dow. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about that dissonant right, then that is also true. But I don't know. What seems to be the dissonant right to me is just like teenagers who think that because their political understanding has matured past, high school campus conservative activism type of stuff, that they're like so enlightened, and then eventually that feeling of, what I would compare it to? See, it's their source of teenage entertainment. Right? It's not a serious thing to them. Okay, it's their source of teenage entertainment. And so, much like pop culture, how do teenagers react very often to pop culture? Everything is a trend. You want to be the first one on the trend. And then once everyone adopts the trend, oh, that's so lame. That's so normie. That's very often what a lot of the dissonant right is on the internet. It's literally just teenagers who have no life outside of politics. And so it's their source of teenage entertainment. And that's why the whole thing is basically just contrarianism. And then, the moment that the mainstream conversation on the right actually pushes to be more right-wing, which is a good thing, suddenly it's like, let's push further. No, we were there first, right? Everyone picks up on this trend or whatever. Oh, but if you're a teenager and it's like pop culture to you, I thought that first. Hey, you're all stealing it. Oh, let me move on to something. It's so lame and normie now. And that's not how politics works, right? Politics is not teenage entertainment. Politics requires repetition. It requires the mainstreaming of ideas. It requires ideas to basically become common consensus. But when you're addicted to the dopamine of your ideas not being common consensus and you being different and you being contrarian, then everything that you build will not suffice to anything that's serious and political. And that's not even a dig at one sector of the dissonant right necessarily. I think all of it entirely from all these different sides suffers from that same exact fundamental problem. Many such cases, which is why I don't play around with stupid labels anymore. It's just, I'm a conservative. I believe what I believe. Don't lump me in with this or that. Okay. I'm Vince Dow. I'm a conservative. Here's what I believe in, and that's really about it. Okay. Dollar for $2 says something about you that seems almost presidential. Hey, perhaps. I have no life ambition to run for president. A lot of people are doing the political content thing because they want to eventually run for office. I have no ambition for that. I just want to do the political content thing. I want to do the media route. But you never know. I don't know. I will go where God takes me, obviously. And so if that's in the cards, it's in the cards. But I don't know. Are my optics presidential? Because I have fun. I enjoy myself on the stream and the content and stuff. I'm probably too short. That's the issue here. I'm too short to be president. I'm like 5'8". How can a guy who's 5'8" be president? Everyone around the Secret Service towering over me. Is that gonna work? I don't know if that's. I don't know if God made me to be presidential because He made me quite short, obviously. Some 5'8" Asian man. I don't know. We will see. We will see. Burgundy Blue for $5. Thank you very much. Says, do you think any of the dissident right's beliefs are too far right? And would you block someone from the movement for having them? I don't really care. I mean, there are beliefs I don't agree with. I don't like this whole dialogue of oh, that's too far right. That's it just sounds very effeminate and left-wing in nature. And so I don't look at it like that. I just look at it a lot of their ideas are just stupid and unfeasible and don't make sense and sometimes anti-Christian, whatever it is. I mean, that's how I don't go around, you're not allowed in this movement because you're too far right. It's just you're an idiot and I want nothing to do with you. That's more how more so I interpret things and see that whole world. But anyways, folks, as usual, I'll do about 20 more minutes, 15, 20 more minutes here, and then we'll call it a night. But as usual, I know we probably have new viewers in here tonight because of the speech. Again, live every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We do an hour-long show normally. I'm doing this a little longer because Trump made the speech and all that. But again, 8 p.m. Eastern time, live news commentary show every Monday through Friday. So be sure to join us. Today's Tuesday. Be sure to join us tomorrow, 8 p.m. For the show. But all right, I'll go for about 15 more minutes here, and then we'll call it a night. So let's see. Vice President Vince Dow. All great leaders need support. I truly believe my place is in the media. I feel like that's my talent. My talent's really like public speaking, right? I feel like I'm generally, I'm not the best in the game at this, but I feel like I'm generally good at this. And that's always been my thing. Like even growing up, I've just always been like a good public speaker. Like it was always my thing. But what's interesting, I mean, I'm a little bit better about this now, and especially when you do start to see success and recognition, it becomes easier to do this stuff. But like growing up, I was never the most like social person, right? Not in the sense I was like a loser, but I wasn't the guy who could just make friends and talk to anyone. And like that aspect of networking, which like I said, I feel like I'm much better about now than I used to be. But that inherent talent for networking is something you don't really need to be a media figure. It helps, obviously, job-wise, but you don't inherently need. But to be a politician, that like interaction skill with people, you have to have, which like I said, I feel like nowadays I probably have better, but a lot of times growing up, I that was never like the natural talent of mine. So I don't know. Also, if I wanted to run for office, I'd be taking a totally different career route right now, right? If anything, I'd probably actually at this age be keeping kind of a low profile and more so trying to like volunteer for campaigns, work in the GOP, stuff like that, make connections, get all the people to endorse me and whatnot, so that way I have friends, instead of making political content and news on a regular basis that is, critical of a lot of these people and says, hey, a lot of the GOP sucks. Let me burn bridges. Let me attack Kevin McCarthy. It's like, I could do it. I could try to get in it, but I don't know if the political machine would allow that after a long career of, calling out people for being rhinos and all this stuff. But dollar for $2 says, I'll be America's first president with Asperger's. Well, we will await. We will await to see it dollar for dollar. Appreciate it. Thank you for the $2. There, you can run for president. I'll be your press secretary. Okay. That is the one political job I've aspired throughout my life, is like I would be a press secretary. That would be kind of fun, because then I'd basically get to do what I do now, but like, for an administration I like that'd be cool. You go up and just argue with reporters all day, like that. I would enjoy that. I used to look at like Kayleigh McEnany and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I don't know, Sean Spicer probably wasn't a great one, but I was like, that actually looks like a really fun job. That is something I would do. And then once you do it, you can like take a media job wherever you want, right? Kayleigh McEnany is, on Fox now. Who's that? Dana Perino? Wasn't she a Bush secretary, right? Like because once you get that recognition, you're like an opus of right-wing media, and then you can. So that is one political job I would like one day, is to be White House press secretary for a few years. I would do that. I'd much more realistically see myself doing that than running for president. But we will see. Burgundy Blue for $5. Thank you very much. Says, what are your thoughts on Enlightenment philosophers like Hobbes and Locke and Rousseau? I generally disagree with a lot of. I'm counter Enlightenment, right? I'm a conservative. I'm counter Enlightenment, and so I'm a Burke fan. Hobbes and Locke, not necessarily the most radical people out there, but they did set the slippery slope for a lot of like what became liberalism, and so like I said, I'm counter Enlightenment. I'm on the Burke team there. If I become president/speaker, I will make you my press secretary. Well, thank you very much, Burgundy Blue. I appreciate that. I appreciate the nepotism there. But all right, like I said, I'll go for 10 more minutes here. So last call, any super chats, questions or comments you want read and answered. Let me check the results of this poll. Let's get to 250 likes, by the way. Let's see, 56% highly approve, 37% approve. Only 7% combined said they disapproved of the speech. I will end the poll. I think most people generally agree it was a good speech. And like I said, the timing. And this is a big thing, right? It didn't go on for too long. Not at all whatsoever. It was well timed. And like I said, now that Trump is, a little older, right? I don't say that as an insult. It is a little bit older. He's not the magnetic speaker that he was back then. Now, I still think he's more magnetic than Biden and a lot of politicians. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think 2024 campaign, he needs to shorten his speeches, this was good tonight because did anyone get bored? Did anyone lose attention? No, it was perfect. But that is a thing. Jonathan Fields for $2 says, "Hey Vince, thank you for the videos. God bless you. Appreciate the 2. God bless you too." And again, I will reiterate. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we will resume to the normal show. So those of you joining us who don't normally join us, be sure to join us nightly, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for our nightly show. Jester says, "I highly suggest against Trump, but he will do." Well, here's the thing, okay? If you don't support Trump in the primary, fine. It's may the best man win. But, I have not, so obviously good on you, Jester, but I have seen people out there who are Republicans and conservatives who say they dislike Trump so much they're not going to vote for him in the general. They'd rather have 4 more years of Joe Biden. And I'm like, are you serious? Like that's just a stupid take. Oh, I don't like Trump's personality, even though he generally, I see very few Republicans out there who actually said record-wise he did a bad job as president, right? Most people say at least he passes, he gets a B to B plus grade in his presidency. But if people who are so turned off by his personality or his energy, whatever it is, that like they're actually saying they won't vote for him in the general election, that's just deranged. Like, that's stupid. Okay, that's stupid. I would equally say that it's one thing to say I'm not going to vote for Nikki Haley or Mike Pence. Like, I understand that. But they're not going to win the nomination anyway. I would equally say if DeSantis wins the nomination, yeah, I'm a Trump guy. He's not my ideal candidate. But I would vote for DeSantis, right? I would vote for him in the general. I think it's kind of a stupid take not to. I mean, again, Ron DeSantis, I have certain concerns about him politically, whatever. But, even his lukewarmly staffed administration, it'll be better for the world than Biden. So, but I'm very concerned, regardless of what happens, I'm very concerned about this. I'm concerned about the fact in 2024, our party, this Trump DeSantis thing is very divisive, which is why I do not engage in it as much as I could. Like, sometimes I bite my tongue, not because I don't have thoughts or I don't have this to say, but a lot of times it's like, what's going to happen is what's going to happen, right? And as we get into the campaign season, I'm going to have to give more thoughts on this stuff, but it's like the dialogue that happens around this question is so unbelievably toxic, but for oftentimes petty and stupid reasons. See, when Trump was attacking Jeb Bush, it was Trump versus Jeb Bush, there was a distinct ideological difference between them. You had a totally failed, terrible neocon versus Donald Trump. And so, it was built to be nasty and it was fine and it worked, right? But the concern I have now, a lot of times when Trump DeSantis people debate, it's like they're saying the same thing to each other. Your guy's backed by neocons. Your guy's, but like ideologically, there's an agreement on we have the same goals, which was not what you could not say about a Trump Jeb Bush debate. This person wants to continue George Bush and globalist American empire. This person has a new vision. That's not so much the case anymore. But it's still an equally toxic dialogue. My concern with that is not that it's toxic. Okay, like, we get it. We have to fight. We have to argue. But my big concern is that come summer 2024, whoever ends up being the nominee, is the base going to be united enough? I think it's a genuine concern that I think I have and a lot of people have, which is why I try not to get both sides to hate each other so much, okay? Not because I don't have things to say. I do have things to say, but I'm very concerned, like, forward thinking about this. Dude, if we piss each other off so much that, you know, this ends up happening, are we going to be able to unite the party by fall 2024? I have legitimate concerns about that. I don't know, right? Because on one hand, you have a facet of the Trump base that would never vote DeSantis, and I think that's silly. And then you have a facet of the DeSantis base that would never vote Trump. And it's like, I don't know. It's a difficult issue. It's a difficult issue. So, you know, I support Trump 2024. I have concerns about, you know, Ron DeSantis, not necessarily him, but the people who back him politically. And, you know, this is kind of like my take on it. But, you know, I would vote for either candidate in a general election. And that mentality is something the party is going to need come the fall of 2024. And looking at the way it's going right now, I don't know if we're going to have it. You know, I don't know if we're going to have it. You know what I mean? So we'll have to, I don't know, we'll have to see what happens. But let's see, we're at 254 likes. Let's get that up. Let's get to 260. We've got about 5 minutes left here. The low energy complaint is dumb. This is politics, not WWE. If you want entertainment, watch a movie. Well, I think you can say it with Trump because Trump is Donald Trump. But you know, it is a point. It is, you do raise a valid point, Rowley. But I would say if it's Donald Trump, he's known for his energy. So, you know, it is something you can bring up. But it's also something that people pay attention to, right? If you're a boring speaker, then who's going to vote for you? But let's see. 923 says, yeah, Vince, this is genuinely one of my biggest concerns with the Trump-DeSantis debate. Is DeSantis even running in 2024? He is. I can tell he is. But although, you know, maybe the whole indictment situation might be muddying those waters a little bit, but it seems very confidently true. I mean, once the Florida legislative session is over, I virtually guarantee you he is. But the fact that this war has broken out before we know is ridiculous, in my opinion. It's going to happen sooner or later. So, I mean, the fact that it's broken out now, it is what it is. But, you know, it is a preview of what is to come. And you see how nasty it is to come. So it's concerning, right? It's concerning. But then again, you know what I will say in fairness? I don't know how really truly divided the base is on this stuff, right? Because I feel like if you go out and let's just say the state of Florida, right? You know, if you go out and talk to your average person who plans to support DeSantis, your person who plans to support Trump, and you put them side by side, are they really going to scream at each other? Are they? I don't know. Like, for instance, we're at the Florida-Georgia game this year in Jacksonville, and you know, I had a Trump hat on because it's like it's you know, it's a big, like, Southern pride event. Okay, so I had a Trump hat on, and you know, the guy behind me, DeSantis flipped the coin. The guy behind me is a DeSantis supporter saying we need DeSantis for president. And, you know, we went back and forth a little bit. I was like, no, but you know, at the end of the day, like, the fact that we united over being Republican, we were actually really cool with each other about it and whatever, right? But then you go on Twitter, and what you very often have on Twitter is, like, paid influencers by both campaigns, which I understand. Campaigns need paid influencers. That's how it works. Like, you know, social media is a method of campaigning. So I'm not saying either campaign is corrupt for that. I think that's a standard practice, and you do what you got to do. But paid influencers going at each other is not going to be the same as the average Trump DeSantis voter, right? So I don't know. I don't know how much your average DeSantis voter and average Trump voter really hate each other or hate either candidate. It's just that they respectively feel like their candidate offers the better vision. But I don't know. We'll have to figure that out when the time comes. But all right. I'll end here in about 2 minutes, so any last call for Super Chats, and then we will call it a night. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Hope you enjoyed our coverage tonight of the Trump speech, and be sure to join us tomorrow night for as we continue the regularly scheduled show. I'm sure we'll have quite a bit to talk about on tomorrow night's show. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream and enjoyed the speech. And again, yes, be sure to join us every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Very fun. Very epic. So, let's see. If there are no more super chats, there is a religion debate going on in chat, which is entertaining. But, all right, ladies and gentlemen, if that wraps it up, be sure to leave a like before you go. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, everyone have a great rest of your night. Have a great week. Be sure to join us tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the next episode of The Vince Dao Show. And until next time, Alpha Moves Only. God bless. Pray for our president. Pray for our mighty orange Cheeto. And peace.